There are women who, without being strikingly beautiful or speaking with ornate words, transform the atmosphere simply by their presence. People turn to look at them, unable to pinpoint why. This is not luck, nor is it a skill. It is energy, something you cannot fake, cannot force, yet everyone feels. Carl Jung called this inner congruence, when a person lives in alignment with their archetypal essence, no longer fragmented between the ego and the shadow, between the role they play and their true being. Conversely, many modern women are gradually losing their natural allure, not because they are less feminine, but because they are unconsciously blocking that energy by living disconnected from their bodies, suppressing their intuition, and chasing roles that do not belong to them. In this video, you will uncover the 7 most common mistakes disrupting your feminine energy, viewed through the unique lens of Carl Jung. More importantly, you will learn how to return to your original state, a place where you don't need to strive to be loved, where your very essence is impossible to ignore. Are you ready? Number 1. Denying the shadow. Have you ever smiled while inwardly wanting to scream? Have you nodded to be loved while your heart roared, no? If so, you are not alone. That is the moment you sever a part of yourself, the part Carl Jung called the shadow. In Jungian psychology, the shadow is not something evil. It is not something to be eradicated. On the contrary, it is the neglected part of your soul, a collection of everything you've deemed shouldn't be, mustn't be, or isn't right, and thus locked away in the depths of your unconscious. Anger, envy, jealousy, the need for control, sensuality, personal ambition, all the things society, family, or religion taught you a woman shouldn't be, are pushed into this shadow realm. You think you've overcome it, but in truth, you've only mastered hiding it. Like an actor who has memorized their role so well, they forget their true face. You don a mask as soft as morning mist, as likable as a smile in a commercial, as kind as a rehearsed line. And day by day, that mask, seemingly your weapon, quietly erodes your soul. It doesn't just exhaust you, it kills the primal allure within you, like spraying perfume on a real flower, overpowering its natural fragrance that was already captivating. True allure does not arise from light alone. It emerges from the harmony of light and shadow. A woman who lives only in her light is like a melody of only high notes, dazzling but hollow. Like a seed in a deep forest, that beauty needs darkness to sprout. You must dare to return to yourself, not the polished version, but the raw, unfinished, damp, earthy self. This is not a journey to become more perfect, but to become more real. Not to be admired, but to let your soul breathe in its true rhythm. Have you ever felt you're living a one-note melody where everything is right, yet something unnameable feels missing? It is the shadow that provides the necessary counterweight for your light to blaze. It is the muted shades, the raw emotions, the unpolished corners, if you dare to hold them close instead of cutting them away, that create the depth that draws others in without explanation. One of the She knows she can be jealous, but doesn't act pettily. She knows she has a wild, instinctual dark side, and she embraces it as a sacred part of herself. If you're wondering how to begin this process, the answer lies not in fixing, but in observing. Start by noticing when you're triggered, when you feel irritated, angry, envious, or insecure. Don't push it away. Ask, which part of me is speaking? And listen instead of silencing it. You can also observe your dreams, as the shadow often appears in symbolic images. Snakes, dark caves, a stranger chasing you, a wild animal, a mysterious woman in red. These are the language of the unconscious. Jung called them the hidden path to the soul. When you dare to enter the shadow, you uncover a primal strength you were taught to avoid. And you realize what disrupts the feminine is not just the rejected shadow, but also the light. Misaligned. Some energies seem powerful, but pull you away from your true essence. This is where another form of disconnection quietly emerges, when a woman is no longer trapped by weakness, but by the very strength society praises. Number 2. Over-identifying with masculine energy. There is a particular feminine energy being lost in this era, not because women are weak, but because they strive to be strong in an unbalanced way. They are rational, controlled, busy, and competitive. They are successful, independent, and sharp. But somehow, they feel empty. They struggle to connect. They sense a part of themselves has long been silent. Carl Jung called this phenomenon over-identification with the masculine archetype in the unconscious, animus possession. In every woman, Jung believed, exists an inner masculine archetype, the animus. This is the part of logic, reasoning, willpower, and action, and it is necessary. But when the animus is unbalanced, it becomes a possessing force, pulling a woman away from her instinctual, intuitive, emotional world, the core of primal feminine energy. She begins to live like a machine programmed for efficiency. Her schedule is as rigid as a military march. Emotions are suppressed, intuition sidelined. Every choice must be justified, logical, and beneficial. She makes decisions quickly and accurately, but gradually loses the ability to feel and be present. One of the clearest signs of animus possession is the misguided belief that I must control everything to be safe. A woman overtaken by masculine energy doesn't allow herself to let go. She doesn't trust anyone to be competent enough to take on her responsibilities. She doesn't trust anyone to love her enough to open her heart. She remains vigilant, fearing collapse if she relinquishes control. But ironically, this obsession with control disconnects her from her deepest source of strength. A woman once shared on our channel, she was accustomed to living as a leader. In intimate relationships, she always felt the men beside her were lesser than her. She longed to be loved, yet couldn't trust, couldn't allow herself to be vulnerable. Each time emotions surged, each time she wanted to lean on someone, an inner voice would say, "Don't show weakness. Stay sharp." And so she withdrew, denying the men beside her a chance to show up. She became correct, but lonely. When the animus is misaligned, it ceases to be a supporter and becomes an inner censor. It forbids you to dream. It forbids you to slow down. It forbids you to dance, to be enchanted, or to break open. It demands you rationalize every emotion, justify every decision, and know what you're doing every second. But the feminine doesn't operate this way. The feminine feels rather than measures. It moves not in straight lines, but in spirals, following the rhythm of the moon. When you live too much through logic, you become disconnected from your body, the home of intuition and sensuality. You stop feeling what is right and only know what is supposed to be. Jung emphasized that individuation is not about eliminating the animus, but recognizing and balancing it. When brought to light and no longer dominating, the animus becomes a wonderful ally. It helps you articulate thoughts, protect boundaries, and turn intuition into action. But the center of operation must remain the feminine soul, not the unfeeling control panel of logic. Imagine yourself as a river, soft, rushing, adaptable. When the animus supports you appropriately, it is like sturdy banks guiding your flow. But when it dominates, it builds a dam, blocking the water, stalling emotions, and stopping the vibrancy of feminine energy. You are no longer yourself, only the shell of a once supple river. The journey back doesn't begin by abandoning work, shedding responsibilities, or doing less. It starts by asking yourself, am I doing this because I truly want to, or because I fear losing control? Am I listening to my body, or just the voice in my head? When you begin to recenter the feminine, everything shifts. Life slows, but deepens. The voice in your head softens, replaced by vacant. When you're jealous, it's waving to call you back to a part of yourself you've abandoned. Every emotion is a living signal, not to be eradicated, but to be heard. Perhaps you've met women like this, or maybe you are one. They never cry, even after a relationship ends. They take pride in this. They are strong, resilient, and unshaken. But inwardly, they lose the ability to connect with their true emotions, and with it, the natural rhythm of their femininity. For softness doesn't come from outward appearances, but from the free-flowing current of emotions within. Emotions are like layers of molten rock beneath the earth. When you allow them to shift, seep, or escape as gentle steam or small streams of lava, the ground regulates itself. But if you seal every volcanic vent, stifling every tremor, thinking you've gained control, you're living atop a massive pressure cooker. The surface may seem calm for years until it erupts. No one predicts the moment. No one sees it coming. But when it happens, it doesn't just crack the surface. It tears apart everything you've built with discipline, facades, and logic. And you're left wondering, why did I shatter over something so small? Jung emphasized, no one becomes enlightened by imagining light alone, but by making the darkness conscious. In that darkness, emotions are the first light, but you must dare to look at them, not to eliminate them, but with profound respect. One woman shared that she always practiced positive thinking. She studied spirituality, the law of attraction and healing. She never complained. But after years, her body began to sound alarms. Insomnia, heart palpitations, unexplained exhaustion. Working with a therapist, she realized that in striving to stay positive, she had suffocated her true emotions, denying herself pain, weakness, or authenticity. When you reject your emotions, you reject a part of your soul. You become a refined replica of paralysis. Everything you do may be correct, but lifeless. Like a dance, technically perfect but soulless. Others may see you, but they cannot feel you. Emotions are the invisible thread that creates attraction, the force that makes others pause, listen, and be drawn in. Feminine energy doesn't come from constant gentleness. It comes from the capacity to embrace all of yourself, including the parts that aren't beautiful or healed. A truly captivating woman can sit in her sadness without fleeing. She can let tears fall without shame. She can be angry without losing the softness in her heart. In that raw honesty, she becomes deeply human and deeply alive. The process of returning to your emotions doesn't need to be loud. It begins in moments when you pause, refrain from reacting or rationalizing, and simply listen. Place a hand on your chest when sadness rises. Sit still when anger surges. Write down everything you feel without judgment. And tell yourself, this emotion has a reason to exist. When you allow yourself to live with your emotions, you open the gate to your primal feminine essence, wild, flowing, soft, and true to its core. That is where the deepest allure is born, not from skills or theories, but from living fully in each moment within your body and heart. But living authentically with your emotions requires something deceptively simple yet complicated. You must dare to live as yourself, unfiltered by others' gazes. And this is another obstacle many modern women unconsciously stumble over. Number 4, living through the eyes of others. Have you ever entered a room and instinctively adjusted your energy, expressions, or words to fit the atmosphere? Have you posted a photo not because you loved it, but because you knew others would find it acceptable? Have you smiled, nodded, or agreed, while deep inside you wanted to say, "That's not me"? If so, you've encountered what Jung called the persona, the psychological mask we unconsciously wear to be accepted in society. To an extent, the persona is necessary. It helps you maintain civility in public, navigate roles as a mother, colleague, partner, or mentor. But the problem begins when you become the mask itself, losing touch with who you are when no one else's eyes are upon you. Living through others' eyes is like standing before a two-way mirror. You think you're looking out at the world, but you're only seeing the reflection you believe others want. You adjust your hair, posture, even emotions, not to feel, but to look okay. Each time, you chip away at your true self. Bit by bit, you fade to yourself, though outwardly, you may still be praised or admired. Carl Jung called this the tragedy of the social ego. When you become so attached to the persona, you can no longer distinguish your true instincts from rehearsed responses. A woman caught in this trap may be highly successful, widely loved, but when alone, she feels empty, lost, directionless, because the external gaze has defined her for so long that she no longer knows what she wants, needs, or loves. Studies in behavioral psychology on reinforcement learning show that the brain prioritizes behaviors validated by society over those reflected. You begin to deceive yourself. And nothing harms feminine energy more than losing trust in your inner voice. The process of shedding the mask begins with a seemingly simple but profoundly difficult question. If no one were watching, no one judging, who would I be? Would you dare wear the outfit you truly love, even if it's not in style? Dare say what you truly think, even if it upsets someone. Dare choose a path no one understands, but deep down, you know it's your way home. Before we continue, take a moment of stillness. Breathe slowly. If what I've said here has made you pause to reflect, hit the like button to let me know you're here with us on this journey. And don't forget to subscribe to catch the upcoming content that will guide you back to your deepest, truest self. As you begin to gently peel away the layers of the mask with honest tenderness, you'll see that your true self isn't as flawed or wrong as you feared. From there, you can't stop at asking, "Who am I?" You must return to what has always been there, waiting for you to grow quiet and listen. Your body. For if the soul is the flame, the body is the temple where it resides. And if you're not present there, you're still living outside yourself. Number 5, disconnecting from the body. You can read hundreds of books on femininity or practice countless empowerment techniques, but if you are not connected to your body, it all remains floating theory in your mind, rootless, lifeless. For feminine energy is not a concept, it is a bodily state. A woman may speak eloquently about inner strength or self-love, but if her body is tense, closed, cold, or weary, that energy cannot radiate outward, cannot touch anyone, not even herself. Carl Jung emphasized that the unconscious does not reside solely in the mind, it is embodied in the physical body. The body is a silent map of everything you've experienced, rejected, or strained to forget. If you lose connection with your body, you don't just lose your emotions, you lose the living data of your soul. Feminine emotion is not found in words, but in the rhythm of breath, in gestures, in the quiet pause of small movements. A woman connected to her body can be silent, yet compel an entire room to turn and look, not because she tries to shine, but because her body is alive, breathing, sending honest signals that the mind cannot fake. From a neurological perspective, this state is called disembodiment, the disconnection between consciousness and physical sensory experience. Research shows that chronic stress dulls the brain's body-sensing region, the insular cortex, reducing one's ability to feel emotions through the body. This leads to a state of refined numbness, unsure whether you're sad or tired, unclear why you feel lost, unable to distinguish hunger from anxiety. Imagine you are a stringed instrument. Your body is the resonance chamber. If a string breaks, you know it needs repair. But if the chamber is sealed shut, even a clear note has no space to resonate. You still play, but nothing reverberates. A woman disconnected from her body is the same. She lives, speaks, acts, but there's no echo. Every movement feels heavy. Every expression feels distant. Feminine energy has no ground to flow through. A common sign among modern women is a conflicted relationship with their bodies. Many begin their self-care journey with self-rejection. They don't eat to listen to their bodies, but to avoid gaining weight. They don't exercise to feel vitality, but to force themselves into a perfect shape. Every glance in the mirror becomes a trial. Every meal, a battle. The body is no longer a place to live. It's a project to control, refine, and judge endlessly. They manage their body as if they were a tool to impress others. And this very act clogs the inner flow of feminine energy, the living current within. In Jung's symbolic system, the body is a direct channel from the unconscious to the conscious. It speaks through sensations, a tightness in the chest when something feels wrong, a warm spread in the belly when you're truly at ease, a shiver when intuition stirs. When you're cut off from your body, you no longer receive these signals, leaving you profoundly lost, not on the map of life, but on the map of your soul. Reconnecting with the body doesn't require elaborate rituals. It begins with small movements, closing your eyes to feel your heartbeat, placing a hand on your belly while breathing, noticing whether you walk on your heels or toes, sensing water flowing over your hands as you wash your face. When you start staying in your body, even for a minute, you reopen the channel to your deepest feminine unconscious. A body that is heard begins to respond. It softens. It grows quietly in a way that doesn't need meditation. And you'll feel that you no longer need to do something to attract. Your inner energy starts to hum, like an instrument with its strings retuned. If you've ever felt disconnected from your body, perhaps you've lived too long in a role under others' gazes. We're curious. When do you feel most yourself? Share with us. We're here, listening. From that breath, you'll sense something long forgotten. Within you lies an ancient world will be possessed by it. For example, a woman who rejects the lover archetype, fearing labels like immoral or dangerous, may become cold, rational, and controlling. But the lover doesn't disappear. It emerges in vivid, sensual dreams, in obsessions with unattainable men, or jealous, possessive behaviors she doesn't understand. Imagine within you a grand stage. Each feminine archetype is a character with a role: the burning lover, the embracing mother, the mystical witch, the innocent maiden. If you allow only one to speak and force the others to sit in darkness, you stifle your entire feminine symphony. A performance with one instrument cannot move hearts. A woman living from only one part of herself cannot radiate the full, layered, sensual, unpredictable allure. From a psychoanalytic view, denying an archetype doesn't just limit outward expression, it severs the unconscious flow that enables adaptation, creativity, and wholehearted love. You may seem fine to others, but inside, you no longer breathe in your rhythm. Jung said that a woman unaware of her inner feminine archetypes will be controlled by them unconsciously. This is why you find yourself drawn into repetitive relationships, inexplicable emotions, or uncontrollable reactions. When you don't actively engage with your archetypes, they speak in their way, through scripts you cannot control. Reconnecting with your feminine archetypes doesn't come from studying a system or playing a role. It comes from listening to yourself daily. What do I need today? Who am I today? Which part of me is being forgotten? Some days, you'll need to be the queen, firm, commanding. Some days, you'll need to be loved like a maiden. At times, you'll need to tap into the witch within, deep, mystical, and unexplained. And none are wrong. When you let all your archetypes live with and through you, you don't just become captivating, you become whole, not one-dimensional, not formulaic, not easily understood, but deep. And that depth is what makes others unable to look away, not because you're perfect, but because you live from a depth no one can feign. But for those archetypes to truly integrate, not fragmented, not controlled, you need a greater journey, one not for the ego seeking to please the world, but for the soul longing to return home. This is the journey of individuation, the red thread Jung saw running through the soul's maturation in every human. Number 7. Not embarking on the journey of individuation. According to Jung, no journey is more significant than individuation, the process by which a person moves from an ego shaped by society, expectations and fears to becoming a whole, unique and unrepeatable self. Jung did not speak of perfection, but of truth. It's not about becoming someone, but returning to who you already were before the world began whispering in your ear, "You should be like this," or "You need to do that." For women, failing to embark on the journey of individuation means remaining trapped in a cycle of roles. Yet all these roles, no matter how much they're applauded, share one truth. They are not you. They are shells stitched together with the threads of expectation and patched with the fear of being left behind. If you live within them forever, you gradually become hollow inside, even if you shimmer outwardly. Picture a candle encased in frosted glass. The flame within still burns, but its light never fully radiates. You feel you're living, yet lack connection, resonance, or a deeper reason to breathe. The more people praise you for being fine, the less you feel truly present in your own life. Jung called this a half-lived existence, where you're accepted by society but not by yourself. Only your soul knows who you're truly meant to become. And if you don't undertake that journey, no one can do it for you. Individuation is the process of integrating all the fragmented parts of your psyche, those rejected, silenced, or labeled as wrong or bad. It's a journey of confrontation, where you must peel off each mask, each beautiful net of armor you've worn, to be accepted by others. It's not easy, but it's the only path to unleashing your true life force. This is the symbol of individuation. You must enter your forest, where there are no guides, no guarantees, no companions, to reclaim your original inner voice. A voice muffled by years of living in the shoulds, the rights, the safe. Only when you hear that voice again do you become truly magnetic, for you no longer live to please the world, but as a flow that cannot be confined. Feminine energy, intuition, softness, receptivity, and creative vitality cannot thrive in a programmed soul. It only blossoms when you begin to strip away what isn't you from your body, your language, your choices. To do this, you must have the courage of one who turns inward. That's when you begin to live truly, not by a map, but by an inner compass. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that privilege doesn't fall from the sky. It demands that you bravely step out of the psychological safety zone, where people applaud the polished version of you, to seek the raw, vibrant version There are women you encounter by chance, perhaps in a coffee shop, amidst a bustling crowd, or in a quiet moment during a conversation. No elaborate makeup, no ostentation, yet they possess a serene allure. Their presence makes it clear. They know who they are. They don't strain to appear strong. They have walked through something profoundly real, deeply within themselves. These women are not simply born fortunate. They have embarked on a serious and courageous journey, looking inward, confronting their shadow, breaking free from societal expectations, and gradually stepping into the state of wholeness that Carl Jung calls the self. They are not driven by fear. They do not let others' gazes define their worth. They understand each person carries an untouched darkness, and only by daring to step into it can one truly mature. In this video, you will explore 7 core qualities that enable a woman to become happy, confident, and steadfast, regardless of judgments, comparisons, or the chaos out there. Stay until the end. Some insights will surprise you, as you may discover these qualities within yourself. And the final one might transform how you view your entire life. Number 1. Quality 1. Connecting with oneself. The modern world presents a strange paradox. We seem to know so much about the external world, yet we are often blind to ourselves. A woman may know which jobs are hot, which trends are rising, or who's popular on social media. But she may struggle to answer a simple question. Who am I, truly, when no one else is around? Carl Jung believed that each person comes into this life carrying a seed of their authentic self, the self. But instead of living true to that seed, we are taught to become someone, a good girl, a good wife, a successful woman. And each role gradually obscures the true self within. We lose connection with ourselves not through a loud catastrophe, but through small, repeated choices made daily to please others. Connecting with oneself is not about self-love in a superficial sense, like going to a spa or traveling to find yourself. It is deeper, truer, and sometimes more painful. It is daring to sit in silence, stripped of roles, muting societal noise, and asking directly, who am I living for? A woman who connects with herself dares to look into her inner world like an uncovered mirror. She doesn't seek truth in others' praise. She doesn't find herself in society's approving glances. She knows that all those are merely the persona, the social mask Jung described. And if she doesn't remove it when needed, she risks losing her true essence to pre-designed molds. Imagine driving a car without ever glancing at the dashboard. You only look outward, following the flow of other cars, trying not to fall behind. But one day, you feel empty, disoriented. That's a sign you need to turn inward, to listen to the inner compass you've neglected for too long. A woman connected to herself no longer sacrifices her true emotions for others' approval. She doesn't force herself to be cheerful when she's hurting, doesn't feign strength when she's fragile, and doesn't reject her vulnerabilities out of fear of judgment. She chooses authenticity, not because it's easy, but because it's the only way to become herself. Jung called this return to the authentic self individuation. It's not about isolating oneself from the world, but about not dissolving shout to be seen, for her stillness is already a kind of strength. So, how do you begin reconnecting with yourself? Not through theory, but through concrete action. One profound practice is to create a small physical space in your home, reserved solely for you. A chair, a rug, a quiet corner with a candle, a book, or a photo that reminds you of your true self. That space is where you don't need to play a role. No one enters with demands, expectations, or opinions. It's where you can exhale after stress, undisturbed. Then, gradually, revisit something you once loved but abandoned because it seemed impractical. Recall, what once captivated you so much that you lost track of time? What made you feel free without needing achievements or praise? Just the act itself? Perhaps you doodled in the margins of your notebook during class. Perhaps you secretly recorded yourself singing and laughed at how silly it sounded. Perhaps you sat on a balcony, watching flowers bloom, as if the world consisted only of that. It could be singing, writing poetry, dancing, or gardening, without needing to be good. These things may seem trivial, but they are where your soul once spoke to the world most authentically. By returning to them, you remind your body and soul that you are human, and the seeds of life are still sprouting within you. Number 2, quality 2, the courage to face the shadow. If self-connection is the first step toward returning to one's authentic being, then the courage to face the shadow is a deeper plunge into the most dangerous and truest territory within. True connection isn't just standing before a mirror to see what's beautiful. It's daring to look directly at the parts of yourself you've denied, feared, or tried to hide from the light. Carl Jung called this the shadow. All the repressed aspects, deemed negative or socially unacceptable, pushed into the depths of the unconscious. It might be envy, greed, anger, a need for control, vague desires, or even talents and strengths you've disowned out of fear of judgment. A woman who appears gentle, kind, always accommodating others, may quietly harbor years of suppressed anger. A woman who seems strong, always independent and successful, may lie awake at night, wrestling with a fear of vulnerability she's never allowed herself to acknowledge. Picture your soul as a vast underground archive. Above ground is the space you frequent, tidy, bright, manageable, where you store pleasant memories, proper behaviors, and comforting beliefs. But below, hidden in the basement, are unopened boxes of memories. Some hold traumas you've brushed off as if they never happened. Some contain anger you've stifled because it's not worth making a fuss. Others are heavy with envy, shame, or instinctual desires you've labeled wrong. You don't discard them. You just shove them into dark corners, marked never to be opened. In contrast, a courageous woman dares to descend into those basements. She isn't afraid of the stains on her soul. She knows every dark part exists for a reason. She observes her anger and asks, "What injustice did I swallow without speaking up?" She faces her envy and asks, "What am I afraid of losing? How was I betrayed that I still haven't healed?" Each time she doesn't run, the shadow loses a fraction of its hidden power, and she reclaims a piece of her buried strength. What about you? Have you ever noticed a memory box in the basement of your soul? If so, write down one small thing you've denied, not to prove anything, but to start an honest dialogue with yourself. Sometimes a single act of sharing can unlock a door you've kept shut for too long. In reality, many women spend their lives trying to be good, only to feel exhausted, angry, or even depressed. That's the shadow, suppressed in the unconscious, seeking a way out. Ironically, the harder someone tries to maintain an image, the more likely they are to shatter when the shadow surges unexpectedly. A courageous woman doesn't cling to an image. She chooses truth. Modern psychology confirms long repressed emotions don't vanish. They become pathologies, behavioral disorders, or emotional disconnection. Jung was ahead of his time, asserting that what remains unconscious destroys us. The only way to heal is to shine the light of awareness into the darkness. Think of this process like digging a well in a desert. On the surface, everything seems dry and barren, but if you dig deep enough with persistence, you'll reach an underground spring. The shadow is similar. Hidden within it is not only pain, but also instinctual wisdom, primal vitality, raw intuition, and untapped strength. A woman who dares to face her shadow attains a rare freedom. Freedom from the grip of the past, from guilt, from inner conflict. From there, she becomes serene, not because she's silenced the storm, but because she's learned to ride it. She's no longer afraid of feeling unkind or insecure because she knows these are parts of being human, not a verdict. Remember, darkness isn't the enemy of light. It's the backdrop that makes light. What she gains is not collapse, but a soft yet profound voice she had forgotten, her primal intuition and subtle instincts buried beneath layers of rational masks. This is when she touches a core quality, harmony with the anima, the psychological archetype Carl Jung described as the soft, emotional and intuitive soul within every person. In Jung's analytical psychology, the anima represents the feminine aspect in the unconscious of men, but it also symbolizes the emotional, intuitive, and inner sensing elements in both men and women. When a woman lives too much through reason, control, achievements, and roles, neglecting her true emotions or inner voice, she gradually becomes rigid, disoriented, and disconnected from her inner vitality. She excels at planning, but no longer knows what she feels. She makes rational choices, but lives with an unnamed void in her heart. That void is a sign that the anima has been neglected. A woman who cannot be shaken is not always certain, but one who trusts her vague feelings, those that reason cannot explain, but the soul understands clearly. Intuition is the language of the unconscious. Emotions are signals the soul sends to the surface of consciousness. When the anima is heard, a woman becomes refined without ostentation, steadfast in a gentle way. Take a real-life example. You're in a seemingly perfect relationship. The other person is good, dependable, with nothing wrong. Yet deep inside, something feels off. Not because they're bad, but because you're not yourself in that relationship. You feel confined, disconnected, as if your soul can no longer breathe. If you're detached from your anima, you might dismiss this feeling with logic. What's the big deal? Or, I'm probably overthinking. But if you're in harmony with your anima, you dare to listen to that vague unease, not to be led astray by delusion, but to reclaim the authenticity of your connection. A woman connected to her emotions doesn't mean she's ruled by them. On the contrary, she sees emotions approaching, understands why they're present, and chooses how to respond rather than reacting instinctively. She's wise enough to recognize emotions as data from the soul, not system errors to be erased. Jung believed intuition is one of the 4 primary psychological functions, and for many women, it's an innately powerful one. Yet, modern society so prioritizes reason that intuition is sidelined as irrational or baseless. A woman in harmony with her anima doesn't abandon intuition, but learns to walk with it subtly. She can enter a meeting, a project, or a relationship and sense an unspoken energy. Not because she knows everything, but because she opens herself to invisible signals. Imagine the mind as a forest. Reason is a well-trodden path, clear and easy to follow. Intuition is a trail through the wilderness, dense, hard to see, but leading to places no one has ever reached. A woman in harmony with her anima doesn't just stick to familiar paths. She's brave enough to follow vague hunches, uncertain yet trusting deep down. This is my path. The beauty is this: harmony with the anima isn't a gift reserved for those with spiritual abilities or living quietly in a serene monastery. It's a capacity any woman can nurture if she truly wants to live authentically. The only condition is that she must pause. She must be willing to withdraw from the noise to listen to what cannot be named. One of the simplest and most powerful practices is writing, not to share or be read, but to hear what you think, feel, fear, or yearn for. Write by hand, with a pen on paper, every morning or when your mind feels chaotic. It doesn't need to be eloquent or grammatically correct. Let the words flow like an uncontrolled stream, for they are not just words, they're the stream of your intuition being unlocked. Another quiet but profound practice is spending time with images, symbols, music, and intentional daydreaming. Jung called this active imagination, where you allow images to arise from the unconscious and engage with them as if speaking to a part of your soul. Close your eyes and picture a space, observing who or what appears. Don't control, don't judge. Just watch, converse, and ask questions. This is how intuition begins to speak, not through logic, but through symbols, colors, movements, and vague emotions. Let these images guide you to places words cannot reach. Number 4, quality 4, not identifying with social roles. Once a woman learns to listen to her true emotions, trust her intuition, and let the anima guide her, she sees something she once took for granted. Much of what she thought was herself is merely a role. Much of what she strives to achieve, maintain, or accomplish doesn't stem from inner needs, but from society's labels imposed on her, what Carl Jung called the persona. The persona isn't inherently bad. In Jung's analytical psychology, it's the social mask necessary for integration, communication, and acceptance in a community. But the problem arises when people forget it's just a mask and start believing it's who they are. A woman might be an excellent leader, a devoted mother, a talented artist, create a space where women can be themselves, free from roles. A woman who cannot be shaken maintains a clear distinction between role and essence. She plays her parts but doesn't dissolve into them. She can excel in many roles without needing to prove her worth. This makes her adaptable, free, and resilient. When one role ends, she doesn't lose herself. She merely changes scenes. Detaching from the persona doesn't require dramatic acts. Sometimes it starts with small steps, saying no to an invitation if it doesn't feel right, even if you fear being seen as unapproachable. Admitting, "I don't know," when uncertain, instead of upholding a knowledgeable image. Withdrawing from a conversation that feels inauthentic, rather than forcing it to be polite. Another powerful but often overlooked practice is keeping a journal just for you. Write unfiltered thoughts, unpolished emotions, even the dark corners you'd never share. Write as if no one will read it. In those moments, when you don't need to be rational or correct, you begin to peel away the mask of roles. That's where you can breathe, whole and unscripted. Number 5, quality 5, silent presence. When a woman no longer identifies with her roles, when she sheds each layer of the social mask without fear of revealing her true face, she steps into a unique space where she doesn't need to prove anything, do anything, or achieve anything. She just is. And that very presence, quiet yet profound, becomes an unshakable source of strength. This is inner stillness, a deep state that Carl Jung alluded to as the point of contact with the truest essence, the self. In a relentlessly moving world, where noise has become the default soundtrack of life, where people rush to speak, react, and share, a woman who enters without clamor, yet whose presence you distinctly feel, is living in inner stillness. She doesn't need to do something to be seen. She doesn't rush to interject in conversations. She doesn't react instinctively when challenged. She is still, and thus, she is fully present. Jung understood that when the mind hasn't reconciled with the unconscious, it remains controlled by anxiety, reactions, and repetitive emotional scripts. Conversely, when the unconscious is illuminated, when the shadow is seen, when the persona no longer defines identity, the mind ceases to fight itself. And when the inner battle ends, a profound stillness begins to rise. Not the silence of surrender, but the serenity of one who has understood. Imagine inner stillness as a calm lake nestled in a pristine forest. Every reflection is vivid. Every ripple has its resonance. Every gust of wind doesn't sweep away a woman with inner stillness. She feels it, but doesn't drift with it. When others react fiercely, she observes. When criticized, she doesn't instantly defend, because there's no battle within her to protect. She isn't still because she's numb. She's still because she knows she doesn't need to strain to exist. A practical example. In a high-pressure work environment, when issues arise, some panic, argue, or react, but others simply listen, sense, absorb, and then speak. And when they do, everyone falls silent, not because they hold a high position, but because the serene energy they carry inspires trust. They don't speak to control, but because their inner maturity speaks for itself. A woman with inner stillness doesn't just manage emotions. She's no longer manipulated by them. Practicing inner stillness doesn't require meditating for 2 hours daily or living like a Zen monk. Sometimes, it begins with turning off your phone for 10 minutes and simply breathing deeply, or writing down what you feel without judgment, or walking without music, listening to the sound of leaves falling. These are small but consistent acts that create an inner white space where the mind truly rests, emotions breathe, and the self is present without being pulled to the past or fearing the future. This is a spiritual sanctuary where a woman needs no shield because there's nothing to conceal. Another equally valuable practice is to choose a daily task and do it fully. For example, brew a cup of tea without checking your phone. Fold clothes without letting your mind wander to other tasks. When showering, feel the warmth of the water on your skin. These small acts remind your body that presence doesn't need a grand reason. You just need to pause long enough to feel. Have you tried these practices? Do they resonate with you? Share your thoughts and feedback. We're always listening to your reflections. They are a vibrant source of inspiration for this journey to continue. Carl Jung once said that inner stillness is the prerequisite for hearing the soul's voice. In stillness, intuition begins to speak. Emotions start to align. What seemed complex becomes simple, not because problems vanish, but because you're no longer clinging to them with fear. And with inner stillness, you become an anchor for yourself and others. Your children seek you not just for advice, but for the safety you embody. Your partner listens not just because you're right, but because you carry steadfastness. Through it and touch something deeper. A woman with the quality of transformation is such a person. She doesn't rush past stages, she doesn't deny pain, but she believes every pain arrives to guide, not to punish. Picture this process as a volcano within. Each wound is an eruption, seemingly destructive, yet it forms new, fertile ground on the soul's surface. As long as you don't bury it with denial or freeze it with control, that lava, once cooled, becomes a place to sow new life. A woman once wrote to us after a deeply painful divorce. She had shut down, living in guilt and viewing the collapse as proof of her failure. But instead of running, she began asking, "What part of myself did I neglect? What did this loss teach me about my limits, values, and love?" Those seemingly simple questions became catalysts for transformation. She was no longer the person she was, not living for illusions or fear of abandonment. Now, she lives consciously, no longer ruled by wounds from the shadows. Jung believed that true transformation must pass through the dark layer, chaos, dissolution, and disorientation. No one reaches the light without getting lost in the night. But if you stay in that night long enough, if you resist escaping with superficial fixes, you'll see. The light doesn't come from outside. It begins to glow within you. This journey doesn't demand haste. Some days, you'll feel you've moved past the old. Other days, you'll cry over memories you thought were healed. That's okay. Alchemy isn't a single forging, but a distillation of emotions, drop by drop, layer by layer. You'll know you've transformed when the past no longer manipulates you, when you can speak of old stories without choking up, when you can stand before someone who hurt you and not feel small, when you don't need to forget or force forgiveness because you've transmuted emotion into understanding. At this point, the journey nears its close. Before moving on, take a moment of stillness. Breathe slowly. Feel the messages meant for you. And let's begin again together. Number 7. Quality 7. Understanding life as an inner journey. After a woman has walked through the fire of transformation, what remains is not a polished ego, but an awakened awareness. That life was never a performance stage, it is a sacred pilgrimage to return home. No longer is it about how to be happier or how to succeed more, but how to live authentically, even if that authenticity makes her tremble. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." You can climb the peaks of fame, stand amidst applause, and still feel a cold void in your heart. Because the true self isn't found at the summit. It lies in the cave below, where few dare to venture. And if you don't turn back to go within, sooner or later, you'll lose yourself in your own life. The unshakable woman sees this truth. She doesn't live to fit herself into a title, mother, wife, businesswoman, healer, artist. She lives to meet herself, raw, unscripted, undefended, in every situation, every rise and fall. For her, every pain, every moment of confusion, every warm embrace or sudden betrayal is material sent to touch deeper layers. She no longer asks, "Am I right or wrong?" but, "What part of me needs to be heard through this experience?" Picture life not as a straight path to success, but as a layered labyrinth. Others say, "Find the way out." But she is different. She seeks the way down beneath the surface, into the basement of the unconscious, to unnamed memories. No light, no map, but presence. And she no longer fears getting lost, for she knows, sometimes, only by losing your way in the outer world do you find the path home. Existential psychology confirms that true maturity comes from embracing finitude, realizing life doesn't last forever, and that very limit gives each experience meaning. A woman living an inner journey doesn't flee from loss, doesn't trade stillness for achievements, and doesn't seek quick fixes for life's big questions. She learns to dwell in the question and let it guide her. Unlike the outer journey, where success is measured by speed, results, and recognition, the inner journey has no report card for comparison. There's only one measure: how authentically you are living. You may slow down, fall behind the race, have nothing new to flaunt to the world. But if you understand yourself more, judge yourself less, cry more honestly, breathe more deeply, you are traveling far. A woman living in depth is like a seasoned sailor. She doesn't try to calm the waves or hide from storms. She learns to read the sky for winds, feel the water to know when to unfurl the sails or pull them in. She doesn't resist the ocean. She learns to dance with it. And if you've ever wondered, how do I become an unshakable woman? The answer isn't in adding something, but in letting go, releasing expectations, roles, masks, even the words you told yourself in fear. Beneath all that is you, authentic, primal, quietly powerful. If this video has made you see your